played a very good game nonetheless. I've got both captains here with me. Aiden Markram, South Africa's captain, Virat Kohli, India's captain, former Zimbabwe cricketer Andy Pycroft, and Zach, the mascot. Aiden, you have the coin. Heads is the call.
It's a tail, South Africa.
Yeah, I won the toss, Aiden. You took a little bit of a moment and you hesitated. You weren't too sure what you wanted to do?
No, I was actually pretty clear, Mikey. Look, we've heard now recently it's been skidding on under lights, coming on nice onto the bat, and that's the main reason for us bowling first. Obviously a bit of cloud cover now today, and maybe we can get some movement up front and strike early.
Yesterday when I got to Port Elizabeth, I heard that there was a fair amount of grass on the surface. Still seems a fair amount of grass. That would have influenced your bowling as well?
Yes, exactly that. And obviously, like I mentioned, with the overcast conditions, it sort of lent us towards bowling. So the most important thing is to start well up front now and then hopefully take a few early wickets and then really get into the Indian middle order.
Well, you're back in the series. Your pink game as usual, you won that. Coming into this should have lifted your spirits a bit, give you a bit more confidence?
Exactly that, Mikey. Yeah, the guys are, confidence levels are up and energy levels are up, knowing there's a lot to play for still. So the guys are keen to go today, even though it's the fourth game in or the fifth game in and bodies could be tired. I don't sense that at all, which is quite exciting.
What about changes in your team?
We've got one forced change. Unfortunately, Chris Morris has got a bit of a stiff back, so we're bringing the exciting Tabraiz Shams into the side.
Test match that was played here. The spinner came into his own in the second innings. Was that the reason perhaps why you chose Shams instead of another seamer?
Yeah, we were initially actually going to go with Shams and Mornay was going to miss out. So the spinner was always going to play. And for the reasons you've mentioned, it does take a bit of turn here sometimes, and because the wicket does tend to get a bit slower on certain evenings. So that's why we also be bowling first before the ball starts to skid on. So yeah, it was always a plan to play the spinner.
Okay, good luck, Aiden.
Cheers, Mikey.
Virat, I heard that your staff, everyone was saying if we win the toss, we'll be bowling. Is that the story?
Yeah, we wanted to bowl first as well. Probably have a total that we could chase down. The whole idea was to make them play full 50 overs. But yeah, look, it's a pretty good wicket. It looks pretty good. It's dry, so if anything, it's only going to wear out in the second innings also. So that's the advantage of having two wrist spinners in the middle overs. You know, they can exploit conditions in the first half, and when the wicket gets slowed in the second half as well. So it looks pretty similar to Durban. So I think it's going to be a good wicket to play on throughout.
So no big thing in having lost the toss then?
Not really. I mean, it looks like a very good wicket to bat on as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a must-win game for them. We have the lead, we have the advantage, and we would like to put on some decent runs on the board for them to chase down. It might not be as fast as the other wickets, so we'll have to be smart about how we go about the first innings. But look, it's only going to get slower and tougher to bat on in the second as well.
The spinners in the last game didn't seem as effective as in previous games. Would that have dampened their spirits, or are they still looking forward to this game?
Not really. Look, I mean, we didn't think about that too much because in the first three games we knew the conditions might not suit them, but they ended up bowling so well and the economy was so less. So they know that they have to go for wickets all the time. If they get hit in one or two games, that's fine. Even batsmen get out sometimes. So that's about the only thing we thought of, and we move ahead. If you do well or you don't do well, you have to start afresh, and that's the best thing about ODI cricket.
What about your team? Any changes coming into this game?
None. We're playing the same team.
Okay, Virat. Good luck.
Cheers, Michael. Thank you.
South Africa have won the toss and they are in the field first.
Thank you very much to Mikey Holding, and it's good afternoon to Sunny Gavaskar as well as Sean Pollock. No change to the team. Sunny, your thoughts with regard to scarring, perhaps, if I can call it that. There was one change in the previous game, an enforced one there, but it didn't go so well. How to get back on the bike?
Well, basically, I think what the Indians will be saying to themselves was that it became a T20 kind of situation. Once the rains came in, the game was interrupted, and then you had the DL method kicking in. So in a situation like that, generally the team that is batting second always has a little bit of a plus point, because if they have wickets in hand, as I said, it becomes a T20 situation. South Africa had the batsman for it. David Miller had a bit of luck with the drop catch and being bowled off a no ball, and he cashed in on that luck, because that's also what you need to do. He did that. Larson batted quite enterprisingly, And Peklupayo showed that he had the freedom to launch into the bowling straight away. So South Africa used that break and that Duckworth Lewis method effectively, and that's why they are still in the series. But I don't think it'll have had too much of an effect on the spinners. Spinners expect to be clobbered in limited overs cricket. Bowlers expect to be clobbered in limited overs cricket. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. What they will of course try and do is maybe make a little bit of the adjustment in the lines they bowl to those batsmen. They'll probably be thinking a little bit of the reverse sweep.
Okay. On to South Africa. Hello, Sean, and your thoughts on the change that has been made. They say it is enforced. Was your expectation, though, that there would be spin here in Port Elizabeth?
Well, when asked at the toss, Markram said it was an enforced change, which is a little bit of a surprise. I think he should have played anyway. I think the conditions out there, the nature of the surface, I think it'll help Shamsi, and I think he'll be a handful for the Indians to deal with. The only problem, I think, with losing Morris, it does throw a spanner in the works as far as balance of the side goes. There's no doubt they could do with the extra batting option. Morris has that ability to get a 50 in short space of time and win a game single-handedly with the bat. He's not there today, so now you've got those three fast bowlers and Shamsi as the bottom order, and that's a bit of a tale. I mean, Peklupayo showed a great ability to finish that game off with 23 off those 5 deliveries, but it has messed up the balance just a little bit, and South Africa will just have to deal with it. It's a back issue for Morris.
Yeah, throw something else with regard to the selection side of things. It's Tahir normally whom they would go to, and this time they've gone with the left-arm Chinaman. Any signs in that? Your thoughts on that with regard to senior and junior, and perhaps if they might have thought of playing 2?
I don't think they were thought of playing 2. I think they're quite happy with the fast bowlers and the way they've gone. We saw a stat of Imran Tahir's performances against India over the years in the Cape Town match where he played, and he struggled. I think his average is like 24 normally. Against India it's 36. His normal economy rate's like 4.75. Against India it's 5.75. So I think they've formulated a method. They know how to play against him, and they've worked him out. And I think that's why Shamsi they haven't seen as much of. It's a different option, and I think that's why Shamsi's got the nod over him. And I also want to have a look at Shamsi under the pressure of playing against a quality side, I would see.
In talking about India, and this is a look at him going through his paces, getting himself ready in the hope to do well today, also try and cement a spot, as they've said, Vision 2019 with regard to the World Cup, and he wants to put his name in the hat. But from that spin, go over to India once again, Sunny, and talk about the middle order of India. 1, 2, 3, perhaps even 4. Rahane got those, 70 he got in game 1. The rest had to come to the party in the previous game, couldn't quite, in so much as trying to get them to 300 or perhaps even more.
Well, I think that can happen in one game, but Shreyas Iyer, in my view, is a very, very fine player, and this opportunity that he gets, in case, it depends on how many overs he gets to bat eventually, but he's the kind of player who can take the game away from you, because he's got the big hitting ability. And if you see the straight boundaries, I see that we as a commentary team could be in danger, because our commentary box is straight down there. Any nice lofted shot, anybody who doesn't like you, me, or Polly and knows that we are on air, he can just bang it in over there. So that can happen. But yes, I think India have struggled for the last year or so with the number 5. Dhoni's been batting at number 5, but now with Iyer coming in, he'll bat at 6. And Dhoni batted really well in the limited opportunities that he had at Johannesburg. So yes, 5 is a little bit of a problem. They're looking at Dhoni, they're looking at Pandya, they're looking at Kedar Jadhav. Kedar Jadhav again not fit. That actually is an issue, because they don't have that buffer for the 5th bowler. Pandya can be expensive. He picked the wicket of AB the other day, but he was giving away plenty of runs. So he can be a little expensive. Sometimes South Africa can get away by attacking him. But that number 5, you're right, is a problem. Hopefully Shreyas Iyer will cement that spot for him.
Yeah, talk about the middle order with you, Polly, in just a second. Let's first go and find out what this surface is like and see how it will play, how Mike Hazeman and Neil McKenzie think it will play. Good afternoon to you, gents.
Hello, Palm. Hello, everybody. Now, I just want to talk about the wind initially. It's always a big discussion point when we come to Port Elizabeth. And I can tell you it's an easterly wind. It's coming right off the sea, coming over the scoreboard, basically. And that's a wind the bowlers like, because it tends to swing a little bit and things liven up a bit as well. At the moment, it's only 20 k's per hour, and it is forecast to go up to 60 k's per hour throughout the day. So it's going to get quite blustery a little bit later. And that means the dimensions come into play as well. If I'm batting from the duck pond end, if I'm hitting straight, it's 75. It's 75 metres if I'm going straight from the duck pond end. If I'm looking to hit that way, and that in particular on a left-hander, you're going 57, just below 60 in that way as well. So if I'm standing from this end, which is the duck pond end, there's a big pond behind this stand, the left-handers with this wind will fancy that and be able to hit that way as well. So that's quite interesting itself. Let's go down the other end and just see what that is. The track, by the way, it looks quite interesting. I think this track is quite a good one. I'll get more information from Neil Mackenzie shortly. But I want to just point out that now this is where the right-handers come into play. If they're going to be hitting straight at 78 metres going straight down that end, so it's a little bit longer, but they do hit with the wind. And we've got to look at these key areas here. Again, it's just a little bit below the 60 mark, around about the 60-metre mark. So that's not a big hit for the right-handers, and there's plenty of big hitting right-handers around the place. Right, Matt, come and join me here, and let's just have a look at this surface. Let's come on this side, I think. What are your thoughts initially? I mean, this track looks a little bit different to me than what you normally see for a one-day in Port Elizabeth.
Yeah, Mike, obviously this grass cover, which is a little bit of on the green side, a little bit more tingy,
right.
Which is obviously due to the overcast conditions we'd have over the last couple of days. Given the wind from the coast, I think there's a lot of moisture in the air, so it's probably going to nip it a little bit. There will be some swing on offer up front. We're talking about spin. With the 3 wrist spinners that are on show, I think it's always going to turn. But I think the good thing for South Africa, and why Aiden Markram's probably chosen to chase, is that it tends to skid on a little bit at night here with those new lights.
Right, now the new lights are terrific, we know that. But what about batting under lights with these with the new lights? So we saw during the day-night test match that it zipped around quite a bit under lights.
It did zip around, but that was a slightly more grass cover.
Right.
I think South Africa have played their test cricket. They've tried to put a lot of grass cover on in terms of opposition. So against Zimbabwe, there was quite a bit of substantial grass. So I think it's just going to skid on, and I think the main reason is for the spinners to skid on, not get that slow turn. I think with bounce, I think there'll probably be a little bit more carry in this wicket with the green nature of the surface.
I just want to have another look at this pitch. I mean, normally when you come here, the spinners, they always do. Well, you've said it, you think it's still going to turn a little bit here. I mean, is that because of this little patchwork sort of area, a bit of cracks around the place in between the green areas? I mean, that's just the way this track is made compared to other surfaces around the country.
Yeah, that's just the nature of St George's. There's always turn here. There always has been history-wise. I think domestically, you've got to look at some of the run chases that have been attained. I think there's been a 270 chase down. So it's definitely not the old St George's of 5-6 years ago. You can bat second and chase down targets.
It is interesting, though. The last couple of one-day internationals here, the scores have been 180 batting second and 160 only. So, I mean, it looks like batting second is going to be a little bit of a challenge.
I think it will be. I mean, the stats are all in favour of the team putting a target together and defending that run chase. But I think, South Africa, they've done their homework. You heard India as well said they wanted to probably bowl first, which shows that the nature has changed, whether it's the lights, whether it's the easterly wind, the green tinge. We'll see.
Okay, all right, Mac, thanks so much for your view. So the track we think looks pretty good. It looks a little bit different than we normally see, and it's largely because of that green tinge. There's perhaps not more grass, it's just a bit more of a green tinge that we have on the surface. There's no doubt the spinners will have a part, but perhaps not a big as part as they normally play on this sort of track. The other thing is, and Agent Carter, the head groundsman here, has told me rain is forecast, but he doesn't think it's going to rain at all, so that's good news. Pom, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Hayes. Let's confirm that forecast. Then rainfall chance 20%. And I guess you got to go with Agent Carter, as you call him. 27 degrees, 27 kilometers per hour. Yeah, it's pretty brisk, but we know that here in Port Elizabeth, it can be a lot stronger. And catching becomes a bit of an issue later on with the wind and with it swirling. And as far as comfort is concerned, 24 degrees Celsius is pretty comfortable. And with the overcast nature of conditions today, it should be quite nice for absolutely everyone. Right, Polly, I'm coming to you with regard to the middle order, but we've got to take a break. So let's take a break, and we'll come back and we talk about South Africa's middle order in light of what Neil Mackenzie is saying there, with the pitch not quite as rough or abrasive. Okay, we'll see in a bit.
Oh, he's hit that one. Again, that's gone. Oh, that's clubbed. That has gone again. Oh, yes! Oh, he smoked that. Oh!
does it in style. Smashed out the ground, and South Africa still alive in the series. The record rolls on. Never lost in pink.